Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube? Diggy546. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video, and I won't tell if you click that bell. But let's go ahead and get into this. All right, so I'm a day late, but Patrick Graham, the Giants defensive coordinator from the time that Joe Judge got here in 2019, 2020 to right now, the Giants defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham, decided that he was going to leave and make a lateral move over to the Las Vegas Raiders to join Josh McDaniels over there, former Patriots offensive coordinator. I'm pretty sure he worked with Josh McDaniels for a number of years. They probably know each other really well. I'm not sure if that's one of his best friends, but there's also rumors that Joe Judge is going to go to the Raiders. Rumors of that happening. Also, the entire Brian Flores thing happened. We don't know if we know Patrick Graham is close friends with Joe Judge. We know that for a fact. We're pretty sure that he's friends with Brian Flores, and we know he's friends with Josh McDaniels too. So maybe the Brian Flores thing really rubbed him the wrong way. Maybe he decided that it was just time for him to move on. You know, maybe he interviewed for the head coaching job here and he felt like he wasn't given a fair interview either. So he just went ahead and left and went all the way over to the Raiders. But for whatever reason, Patrick Graham decided to leave, and that's that. Now, what's this impact on the Giants? I think it kind of looks bad from like a PR standpoint, the fact that we're being sued for that whole Brian Flores thing. And then at the same time, we're losing, coaches. We're losing black coaches, and coaches are leaving here when they had a chance to stay here. So it could look bad optics wise, but at the end of the day, I don't really think this matters as much as people think it does. I think Patrick Graham just made that decision that he probably needed a fresh start. He probably didn't want to be the last one here from the old regime, because if his defense goes out there and plays bad for the Giants this year, you got to believe Giants fans are turning on him quicker than anybody else on that staff. Everybody else has a clean slate. Patrick Graham does not have a clean slate if he stays on the Giants this year. It just wasn't happening. If he came out and he had a league average defense or any defense that played bad at all, he was going to be crucified. Like, Giants fans will be upset. And I mean, that's just human nature. We look around, we see everything else has changed, but this one guy on defense, and we probably be annoyed. We probably would be annoyed that, we didn't make that change on defense when we had the chance to. So I think that's probably the biggest reason that he left, along with the fact that his best friend just got fired. Another one of his best friends are filing a suit against the company. He has to kind of pick sides at that point. I know it's a profession. People are going to work where they're going to work. But he probably was finding himself in between a rock and a hard place. And he just said, I might as well take the Raiders job. The Raiders have, I tweeted out that the Raiders have a more talented defense than us. You could argue that we have a more talented defense, but the thing is, we're going to have to make cuts. We're going to have to make cuts and clear up space. They might have told Patrick Graham the long-term plan, and he might not have been down with that. They might have told him, listen, we got to get rid of James Bradbury. We might have to get rid of Blake Martinez. These are his guys, and don't be surprised if you see Blake Martinez follow Patrick Graham over to the Raiders if he gets cut. But he probably just didn't align with the plan, and they decided to part ways. But overall, Patrick Graham was a really good coach here. I'm not sure if he ever was able to get to that point where the team is like, the best defense in the league. I think for a couple of weeks in 2020, we probably were. But he never took that next step. But I believe 100% that he can take that next step, because the adjustments that he makes, the defense that he puts together, the fact he gets the best out of each and every single player really was good. I liked him better than any other defensive candidate on this market besides Vic Fangio, which I'll get into in a couple of minutes. But Patrick Graham definitely was a bright spot here when we were doing a lot of losing. I mean, he put a lot of people in the greatest positions that they've been in their careers. Blake Martinez, again, Jabril Peppers, Logan Ryan, all these people were put in places to succeed, and they did a really good job. So Patrick Graham, no longer a Giant. I wish him the best. I'm going to definitely be keeping an eye on that Raiders defense. I mean, he probably looked over and saw Max Crosby and I'm forgetting the other guy, Ngakwe over there. He probably looked over there and saw some of that, that talent on the line and said, the Giants are a little bit away from being able to be that dominant on the line of scrimmage. We're going to have a really nice draft this year and probably some, get lucky with the Z's and some other guys on the roster. So Patrick Graham is moving on, as I said. The next thing to do is look towards who could possibly be his replacement. Now, Wink Martindale has been linked to Brian Dable since before Brian Dable was even hired. So I'm thinking that Wink Martindale is the guy to beat. Now, I have a couple of the Ravens stats over the last couple of years, just for reference. He took over as the Ravens defensive coordinator in 2018. 17 points a game his first year, 17 points a game his second year, 18 points a game his third year, and then 23 this past year when his entire defense was pretty much injured. Wink Martindale has proven that he's a really good coach, really good defensive coordinator. He was in the running. If we were going to fire Joe Judge, he was definitely in the running to be the head coach. I think he was in the running to be the head coach before we hired Joe Judge. So he's a well-respected person around the league. He's been a defensive coordinator a couple of places. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think he was on the Broncos for a little while. He's been around the league. So he's well-respected. With the Ravens, he was lucky enough to be able to get those two dominant corners on the outside. I think he had Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey, and they pretty much just locked down both sides of the field. He was able to play that defense is where his two corners could just lock down their guys, and then he would just send blitzes, just blitz and blitz and blitz and blitz and blitz, and it worked for them. Now, it did result in the Ravens giving up way too many big plays because they're blitzing almost every time. But at the end of the day, the defense still was only giving up 17, 18 points a game. Now, when you get into the playoffs, when you play against the top tier quarterbacks, you're going to need to make adjustments. And that's the only thing that I have that I think about with Wink Martindale. And I don't have the playoff stats as far as the defense goes up here, but it will be interesting to look at those playoff stats to see if if those points per game that his defense gives up starts to go up in the playoffs as the quarterbacks get better. So that's my only critique on him. I just wish he'd make a lot more adjustments and sometimes not blitz as much when the other team's quarterback isn't, a guy who's susceptible to playing bad against the blitz. Like Joe Burrow carved that defense up. 400 something yards both times. Now, yes, that's what he does, and that's how he wins games a lot of times with Wink Martindale. But and a lot of his guys were injured. He couldn't play. You get what I'm saying? A lot of his guys were injured. So I feel like he should have made that adjustment to stop the blitzing because you don't have the corners back there to do it. So that's my critique of him. The Giants have also been rumored to interview Sean Desai. He is the Chicago Bears defensive coordinator. This is his first year as the defensive coordinator of the Bears. The Bears defense is always good. He's grown up in that tree. Started off as defensive quality control coach in 2013, stayed there for 5 years, got promoted to safeties coach in 2019, and then 2021 got promoted to defensive coordinator. So he's been there through the entire time, and the safety play for the Bears has been outstanding. And they have really good safeties, but it's been outstanding. So he's definitely a guy that I think should probably be considered. Now, I'm not sure. The Bears defense wasn't, all-time dominant this year, but they were a good defense, just as they usually are. They moved on from Matt Nagy, and Desai's looking for a new job. So I'm interested in him. He seems like a young coach. He's 38. Seems like a young coach who could grow into a nice position. I'd be interested to see if we hire him, how he ends up looking. But that's someone that we've hired. And then the last name, the most popular name that every Giants fan wants as far as the wish list guy is Vic Fangio. And Vic Fangio not only was part of the 49ers defense in 2011 and 2012 when they were just really out of control as a defense. Not only was a defensive coordinator there, he was also the defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos when they were tearing things up with Peyton Manning at the end of his career and beating Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. So Vic Fangio is a really, really good defensive coordinator. Really good defensive coordinator. Wasn't the best at head coach, But some guys are just defensive coordinators or offensive coordinators, and Vic Fangio has that down to a science. I believe if he took over, we would get the best out of our players. I believe that he's the only candidate that you could say and make an argument that is better than Patrick Graham at defensive coordinator. I think he's the only candidate that I would really say that. A lot of people think that Wink Martindale is an upgrade, but I think the only upgrade would be Vic Fangio. And if we were able to hire him, we're looking at probably a dream coaching staff as far as who was available this offseason. You look at Dable. I think he was our first choice, my first choice, definitely. You look at the fact that we brought in Mike Kafka, who he wasn't my first choice, wasn't my first or second choice, actually, but a guy that comes from that Reed coaching tree, a guy that is definitely well qualified and good at developing quarterbacks. Then you get Josh Allen's quarterback coach, assistant quarterback coach, Shea Tierney, who helped a lot with the development of that offense. So you got a really good staff here if you're able to go out there and hire pretty much any of these candidates, but especially Vic Fangio, because I believe he might be, top 2 or 3 defensive coordinator in the entire league. So we'll see how this shakes out. Patrick Graham, I wish him the best of luck. I think the Giants will be okay. I don't think that our defense is all of a sudden going to be like the league's worst defense because we lost Patrick Graham. Hopefully I'm right on that. But good luck to Patrick Graham wherever he goes after this. Hopefully he gets a head coaching job soon. And the Giants will be just fine. We'll find the right defensive coordinator in a couple of days. The announcement may come today. It may come on Monday or Tuesday. But the Giants defense will be just fine. Don't worry, we got the talent. You made it this deep into the video. Come on, just hit the subscribe button. I make Giants content primarily, draft content secondarily, and during the season, I'm going to be doing a lot of reacting to pretty much most of the NFL games and everything NFL. So if you made it this deep, go ahead and join the D6 squad.